There we go.
How are you, Laura?
Good, good, good. Just got in from a nice walk. Figured I
Nice.
need some exercise before I sat again for another hour.
Welcome to the Lift Oneself podcast, where we break mental health stigmas through conversations. I'm your host, Nat Nat, and we dive into topics about trauma and how it impacts the nervous system. Yet we don't just leave you there. We share insights and tools of self-care, meditation, and growth that help you be curious about your own biology. Your presence matters. Please like and subscribe to our podcast. Help our community grow. Let's get into this. Oh, and please remember to be kind to yourself.
Welcome to the Lift Oneself podcast, Laura. I'm so thankful you're here with me.
Oh, thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
Will you join me in a meditation so that we can sync our hearts and our breaths together?
Sure, sounds good.
And for the listeners, many of you listen to a podcast while driving or doing something that requires your visual. So when I ask Laura and myself to close our eyes, please don't do that. Because like I always say, I want you to stay safe and everybody around you. Yet the other prompts you're able to follow with whatever activity that you are doing. So Laura, I'll ask you to get comfortable and to gently close your eyes. And you're going to begin breathing in and out through your nose. And you're going to bring your awareness to watching your breath go in and out through your nose. You're not going to try and control your breath. You're just going to observe its rhythm while still staying focused with your breath. There may be sensations or feelings that are coming up in the body. Let them come up. You're safe to feel. You're safe to let go. Surrender the need to control. Release the need to resist and just be. Be with your breath. Drop into the body. Keep your awareness on your breath, dropping deeper into the body. While staying with your breath, you're going to gently open your eyes and continue staying with your breath. How's your heart doing?
Good.
Can
Very
you?
relaxed.
Nice. I needed that. It's been a day today, so it's always nice to take a pause and anchor in the breath. Can you let the listeners know who Laura is?
Oh, goodness, where do I start? Well, I'm a psychic medium and I'm a spiritual coach and an intuitive, a spiritual counselor and an intuitive coach. I'm a highly sensitive person and love to laugh, love to have fun, love the outdoors, and I love people. That's probably the best way to put it.
Some of my listeners may be familiar, but there may be some new ones. Can you let them know what a psychic medium and what it is an intuitive coach and what is a
Okay.
spiritual counselor?
Okay. Well, let's start with the easy stuff. A psychic is an intuitive person who reads energy, and everybody's psychic to some degree. Okay, you can develop those senses, but I always let people know because there's a lot of confusion going around today about mediumship. Now, mediumship is a different gift. Okay, you have to have the gift. Not everybody is a medium. And nobody can make you, if you don't have the gift, nobody can make you into a medium. But if you have the gift, there's lots of people around that can help you develop it. And I always say the easiest way to say it is all mediums are psychic, not all psychics are mediums. Okay. And in case you don't know, because I know some people don't, because I have to explain this to them, a medium is someone who receives messages from the other side. A medium is like an antenna. A medium can't go out and kind of grab people and interview them on the other side. They have to come and speak with us. And so they know who can hear them and who can't. And they come and deliver messages. And when I'm doing mediumship sessions, a lot of times the person that person most wants to come and talk to them isn't the person that shows up. Okay. It's often somebody else that comes through with the message, or sometimes it's a group, and they'll always, if there's a group of people, there'll always be a spokesperson, and that person basically speaks with one voice for the group. Now, these are my gifts and my abilities that I've honed over the years, many years. I've been doing spiritual counseling and intuitive coaching now full-time for 10 years, and I was doing it before part-time. And I used those gifts in my spiritual counseling, my psychic senses and my mediumship, to help people in all areas of their life, their personal issues, their relationship issues. I have a lot of people coming to me looking for information on their businesses. And I also have a lot of people who come to me looking to heal things, whether it's emotional, physical, mental, spiritual. And I also have people who want to grow spiritually, or perhaps develop some of their spiritual gifts. So there's a lot of people that come to me for a lot of different reasons. And I love them all, because I'm a Gemini, so I love variety. And I just love working with people. And I think the biggest thing is I try to help people to discover their authentic self. And that's another phrase that's been thrown around quite a bit lately. And what that really means is your authentic self is the person that your soul planned you to be before coming into this specific lifetime. And before school, teachers, parents, cultures, religions all brainwashed us into somebody that they thought we should be. So a lot of times who we really are gets lost along the way. And it's a process. And I think that's the real process of awakening. That's the real spiritual journey, is discovering who your authentic self is. And that's really how you discover, a lot of people want to know what their mission is, what their purpose in life is. And the first thing that you need to discover and get closer to and create a deep connection with is your authentic self, if you really want to find out what that mission is, and what your purpose is here. So that is kind of the first, one of the first steps in awakening, and which brings you into all the other spiritual things that so many people would like to connect to. So I hope that makes sense.
Well, it makes sense totally to me, because we dive into the same spaces as surface, because I really understand the nervous system and understand the charges that get lodged into people. And what I remind people too is, if you want to get to your authentic self, that means you have to feel your authentic emotions, not the secondary or the mask that you're presenting. And you have to come back into the body, because that is your radio transmitter to be able to fine tune and hear the messages coming through. Which, for some, it's easy to be willing and surrender, and others, it takes a journey to bring down those defense mechanisms that you've created to protect yourself, which, everybody has their journey. I have a personal question now, so I'll come into this. Some people will know, and yet now I'm making it clear. I do tap into mediumship, and I'm tapping into it a lot more because it's becoming more and more prevalent. There'll be a dream that I'll have, and I'll have to pass on the message. And then the person's like, how did you know? Like, that had to be my, and I'm like, I'm just passing you the message. Like, it's not me. Then I recently did a podcast with somebody, and their mother had come through me when we were at an event, yet I was like, yeah, I can't tell her this here. It's not the place or the time to say it. But then we did a podcast and we were speaking about her, and all of a sudden her front door opened, and she's like, that's never happened, and I cannot deny this. So, and I'm like, okay, so your mother's trying to speak to you in different ways. So now you're in my space that you can feel comfortable to receive this and not be all like freaked out yourself. because that's what I call it when people transition. It's like they're just on the other side of love, and it has a depth that you're not aware of. Yet if you open yourself up, you can hear the transmission if you're willing. Yet for myself to be that space for people, what would you recommend for me to hone into that gift?
Well, first off, the thing that I would suggest to you is that you get really cozy with your guides and angels, okay? Because they're your gatekeepers, and especially when you're dealing with folks on the other side, because there's energies there and there's energies at different levels that aren't the highest energy, okay? And you want to make sure that you have your gatekeepers in place so that, and there's people on the other side who will ambush you. If you just leave yourself open and you just leave the open for business sign up all the time, that can really, really disrupt your life and can be very costly to you personally. So you need to have your gatekeepers. And my guides know the only time that anybody can approach me from the other side is when I'm in session. Or there have been a couple of emergency situations, but those are very, very few and far between. So you have to say, okay, nobody can approach you until you're in session with someone, or until you're in your own safe space. Because, I call people guerrilla psychics. And this is people on this side. Okay. This is people who go up to people and say, oh my God, I have a message for you, blah, 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 blah. That is so out of integrity. It's unbelievable. And I see people do that. And I just go, no, you just do not do that. And then there's what I call guerrilla attacks from the other side, which is people who desperately on the other side want to get a message through to a loved one. And they will have no boundaries whatsoever, and they'll just get to you any way they can. And I don't mean in a sinister way. I just mean they'll want to get that message to you in any way they can. And it doesn't matter what's going on in your life. They'll just barge right in. It's like being in the proverbial shower and having somebody walk in the bathroom, okay? Or being asleep, and having somebody just like startle you awake. That is not appropriate.
Yeah.
And the people that make sure that doesn't happen are your guides and your angels, okay? But you have to communicate very clearly with them what your boundaries are. Again, it's all about boundaries, okay? That's number one. That's for the people on the other side. The people here, you also have to set boundaries with them, okay? And again, you're not always open for business, and it's not appropriate to come up and start asking, anytime they happen to feel like it, to start asking you all kinds of questions, because that's not appropriate either. And you should know any kind of this psychic work or mediumship work, it does have an energetic drain on you, yourself, your person. So you also have to be very cognizant of that. You have to be very, very, like I said, since I've been doing this work, especially full time, self-care is absolutely, it used to be kind of optional. It's no longer optional. It's absolutely mandatory, because not only is it to keep yourself healthy and whole, but also to have enough energy and to be effective when you're actually dealing with a client. So those are the big things. And I can tell you right now, the number one thing that I've found when people want to develop their gifts is meditation. It's just like real estate, location, okay? When it comes to either psychic abilities, or if you do have the mediumship gift, it's meditation. And I also love what you said earlier about being in contact with your body, because a lot of people believe that spirituality has nothing to do with your body, and it has everything to do with your body, okay? It has everything to do, even as just a psychic, a huge amount of information that I get, because it's energy, it comes through my body. So the other real thing that I really recommend is something along the lines of yoga. It could be yoga, it could be Tai Chi, it could be Qigong. A lot of the martial arts are very good for getting the contact with your body. And so not only am I a psychic and a medium, I'm also a yogi, okay? And I'm also a serious meditator. I meditate for the last 10 years, especially, even more than 10 years. I meditate almost every single day. There's the odd exception, but it is very odd if I actually miss a day. And I often think that it's because my guys on the other side, I call them my guys on the other side, will actually make that happen to remind me what I feel like if I don't meditate. And I can tell you, it's not good. If I actually, something happens and I miss my morning meditation, I feel off all day. Okay. So it just shows me, it just underscores the fact of how important it is. So those things are the really, really important things for you to develop your gifts, and also to get that deep, deep connection that we talked about with your authentic self. So anybody also looking for their path or looking for their purpose, that is all those things I just said also apply to that as well.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I knew it from when I was younger, because people would talk to me and share things, or I would see things. Yet I dimmed that, like I disconnected from my intuition for a bit to navigate the worldly world. And you try to explain this to a broad few, and they'd be like, that's all in your head and something's wrong with you. Yet now it's allowing myself to have an acceptance of my authentic self, and not everybody's going to understand. And it's like, it's to find the people that you are here to serve and that need that opening and are willing to understand what energy is and really go into a deeper dimension of your own inner power, their sovereign being. And like I said, come back into the body, which, if you've experienced a lot of trauma or pain or sadness, it's warrior work to, get reacquainted. I almost died 10 years ago because I had lesions in my brainstem and cerebellum. And so
Wow.
I totally understand the overload of your energy and system, and really having to conserve your life force. More and more, people really appreciate being in my energy field, or they'll ask if I can be in their back pocket because I just help them to regulate their system. And they're like, I just feel at peace when I'm around you, and I'm not so anxious. And all the part of the wound that felt like I wasn't validated, it's like, oh my gosh, this attention. And it's like, Natalie, you validate yourself. And if you open yourself up, everybody will just drain you. And you have to.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. Yeah. Because I love my guides, because they always, they're famous. And the two analogies that they use most often is, it's like when you're on the airplane, like put your oxygen mask on first and then help others.
Yeah.
Or they love the one, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've got to be filling yourself up. And you also have to have really good boundaries, because people will see your light. They'll feel your energy. And, there's these wonderful people around that I call energy vampires. And literally, if you let them, they will literally suck you dry.
Mhm.
And it's not about taking, see, this is the thing that people don't understand. This is the way the 3D world works. It's like taking energy from other people. It's not about taking energy from other people, because it is a reciprocal energy. Okay. Everything about spirit is reciprocal. And I explain that to my clients too. When I'm working with my clients, yes, they are getting all kinds of wonderful things out of their session, but I am also getting teachings and healings and everything out of the session at the same time, because spirit is always reciprocal. If it's only going one way, I always say this to people, it's only going one way, it ain't spiritual.
Mhm.
Okay. It's basically theft or energy sucking, or something of a very low vibration, because high vibrational energy is always reciprocal, and there's always a circular flow of that energy. And if it's not, you really don't want to be there, because there's a lot of people, and and they'll talk the talk, but they won't walk the walk. And they'll come off as they're some kind of gurus or something, and all they're really doing is they're siphoning and stealing energy from other people, and they're not giving anything in return. So you do have to exercise, this wonderful thing. It's practicing discernment. Okay. And that's why it's so important to be doing that. and not simply, because otherwise you're putting yourself into victimization. Okay. You're allowing people to use you in an improper way. And that goes for anyone, because people do this energy sucking and it has nothing to do with anything spiritual or anything. You'll see people do it in very different ways. There was a whole series of books, and now I'm trying to remember the name of things. But it was really talking about how there was a whole section in the book about how different, like the poor me. Okay, that's basically an energy sucking strategy. Then there's the aloof, which is somebody who's always aloof, and they draw people to them by sucking out their energy. And these are all tactics that people use to steal energy. And there's several other ones. And these things have nothing to do with spirituality. People are doing it in everyday life all the time. And I just watch these things happen. And when you're really in tune with energy, some people can see actually with their physical eyes. I see more with my psychic eyes, and more than see, I feel. I'm very much a feeler. So I can feel energetically what's going on, and I can look at these two people and I'm going, okay, this is a totally improper energy exchange, because one is taking energy from the other and not giving anything back. So that's just an example.
Yeah. I always, whenever I have sessions with clients, I always thank them at the end that, I learned a lot in this session too. And they're like,
Oh, yeah.
what? You did so much for me. And I'm like, oh no, I got something. This is a two-way thing, with the psychic ability. Like I tell people, I'm like, this isn't just my own thing. Like we all have the power to do that, but you have to do your inner work to be able to clean out the static, to have a clear channel to hear. And, when I read people's energy in their body and I can see things, and I'm like, I'll ask somebody I'm like, you don't see that about them? And they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then when I ask the person, they're like, how did you know? Like, how are you in my head? Like, and then I feel like, but now more and more, I'm like sitting in the gift that I see the energy, and if people are willing, it's, seeing where they are and not just bombarding them like, oh, I see this about you. I have to see that they're willing to receive it. And if they're open to hear what I'm reading. But at first it made me, I thought like, well, everybody's seen it like this. And more I came to see like, no, not like people aren't seeing this. They're like, what are you talking about? And then when they're like, how did you know that? And I'm like, well, can't you see it? Like, it's clear as day, like it's written all over them. And so thank you for the verbiage. We're going to talk about energy, and we recently had a solar eclipse, and we recently had a full moon and the new moon and all of that fun stuff. Can you tell me what your perception, or I should say your perspective of what you're seeing with these big shifts right now and the frequencies?
Well, I tell you, I tend to start feeling things ahead of the wave. And I've been told over and over again, this is so I can help people move through it. So when this started, basically the energy started really pumping at the beginning, right at the beginning of March. And it continued in intensity through the full moon. And then the couple of weeks before the solar eclipse and the new moon, the super new moon, the energy was just crazy. And at that point, it was crazy. People were going off. Like it was triggering people to just have these ridiculous outbursts of, in most cases, negative, like very controlling energy. And I don't know if you've discovered this, but the brighter you get, the more you trigger people. That's just something that happens. Okay.
That's why I call it
for the good.
Yeah.
Yeah, both, and it depends on the person. If somebody is very high energy and they're already working on the vibration, and you are very full of light and you have a high vibration, you will help that person move higher. If you encounter somebody who's not doing their work and is still at a very low vibrational level, what ends up happening is you trigger them. And like, I just gotten used to it over the years, because literally, you can walk by them, or you can say the slightest little thing and they will just go off on you. And I haven't seen it so intensely as over the last couple week and a half before the eclipse window. Okay. And the energy was so heavy and so powerful right up until the eclipse. And it's kind of like as soon as the eclipse door closed, the energy again has become very rarefied in terms of the energy's become higher, and the intensity of it is beginning to slowly wane off. Okay. I like the explanation that I did a ayahuasca retreat in Peru, and I had a big discussion about these things with the shaman, and he gave me a really good story of truth about how this works. And he used the example of a big storm, and he said literally when a big storm rolls through, because they have them we experienced one when I was there in Peru, and it rolled through, and it just gathered up all this negative, piled up all this negative energy in front of it, and it just went through the area in the jungle that we were staying in, and it just rolled through. And as soon as it was past our area, the whole energy of the area just lightened up, and it was like a way high vibrational. You could even smell it. It's that smell after a storm. And he basically told me that that's the purpose of storms. They literally come through and they clear away all the debris and the negative energies and all the crap, basically, and they push it out and in front of the storm, and then you're left with this beautiful, rarefied, higher frequency, lovely energy. And I see the whole eclipse energy in the same way. Okay, pushing out all the negative energy and basically scraping everything clean. And also about with an eclipse, though, it's not just sort of that alley of totality. The energy actually goes out and circulates around the whole world. Being in North America, we got it first, like Mexico, United States, and Canada, because it went right across North America. So we got the energy first, but that energy rippled out around the world. And I'd been talking to other people around the world, and they just felt it a little bit later than we did here in North America. But it was wild energy, and it's still, it happened on Monday, so we're only a couple days in. So it's still, and we were speaking before we came on, and I said to you that yesterday was a bit of a rocky ride. The day of the eclipse was a really rocky ride. Yesterday kind of eased up a little bit, but it was still pretty rocky. But when I woke up this morning, I woke up and I felt light. It was like that feeling after the storm. And I was feeling really light and very connected and very high vibrational. But around 1 o'clock, noon, started getting 2 o'clock here on the West Coast, it all of a sudden started feeling heavy again. I went, oh no, here comes another wave. So this is what I think is going to happen over the next few weeks. Is we're going to have these sort of continuous ripples. Or it's like when, you drop a pebble in a pond. There's going to be these ripples running through, but eventually it will all even out. But so we're still in for a bit of rock and roll in terms of the energy, but it's certainly not to the same extent that it was prior to the eclipse. And I just found out, actually, I didn't know, I should have copied it down or something, but there's a whole bunch of other celestial events going on. There's a comet, and there's a special crazy alignments going on. Like there's a lot. The cosmos is just pumping energy in here like crazy. Yeah. So, if you don't have to be a psychic or a medium or anything like that. If you're just even people who are empathic and highly sensitive, you're going to be feeling this stuff. So just really, I always say to people, amp up the self-care. Yeah. Because that's what you really need to do. You need to take care of yourself, your meditation, your spiritual practices, Epsom salt baths, whatever, smudging, crystals, whatever, kind of floats your boat. But do it. And I just said to you before, when I started feeling that energy that heavy energy coming on this afternoon here on the West Coast, I thought I got to get out in nature because that's one of my big things. So before we came on, I just went out for an hour-long walk in the woods, and I came back and I was all refreshed and I felt so much better because I didn't want to come into this interview with you feeling like I did around lunchtime, because I thought, oh, this is not good energy to have this kind of exchange. So whatever you need to do, to change your energy and loosen things up and kind of get yourself going again, you need to do it over these next few weeks.
Yeah. And as myself, it's been a very challenging day today. So I just sat in my car and just sunbathed and was just watching the robins, because there's right outside my window right here above, there's a nest of robins. So I'm hearing the birds, and then the robins were in my grass trying to find grubs and worms and stuff.
Nice. Yeah.
I do the same thing of connecting with nature to really come out of my head and come back into the body and connect with the grounding of, the earth, and, walk bare feet too, to be able to really feel the magnetic charge. I'm the same way. Like if I really feel a charge, I go get lost in the forest, because that forest bathing.
There's nothing that grounds you. Yeah, there's nothing, they've even got this saying now in Japan, which I just love, and they call it forest bathing. Just walking in the forest. And earlier this year, this is something else people can try, because I was very impressed. Earlier this year, I'd heard about it for several years, about these grounding sheets. They have silver threads running through them, and then you plug it into the grounding little socket of your wall plugs. And I tell you, that has really made a difference for me. It's just really grounded. So you spend the whole night sleeping in a very grounded energy. And if you have any sleeping problems at all, it also helps you a lot with those. But it's just, for me, it's just to wake up and be fully grounded and not have to do any kind of work to have it done, because you just wake up in that state, and it's really fabulous. And they're not cheap, by the way, because they've got all these silver threads in them, but I tell you, they are super. It's definitely worth the investment. I really, especially if you're, like I said, at all sensitive or empathic, or have problems staying grounded. Because like when I was young, oh my God, when I was in my when was the worst? Well, 20s, I didn't know what I was doing. 30s, I figured out how to stay grounded. And I found a wonderful, wonderful old, when I say old, I mean trained in the original old Reiki, not this, whatever they're doing today. Trust me, if somebody tells you they're a Reiki master, can make you a Reiki master in a long weekend, run. Because it's not true. Okay, but this gal I had, she was trained for many years, and she was a true Reiki master. But she used to laugh at me, because she used to say that she spent her whole time with me pulling me back into my body. Because when I was young, for a whole bunch of reasons, I basically was living from my heart chakra up. So I was definitely not grounded at all. And I was halfway out of my body. But eventually I solved that issue. But it's pretty funny. So grounding is so essential. Okay, it's essential for everything. It's essential for your health. It's essential for you to, what we were talking about, connect with your gifts. And it's really essential for your ability to create energetic boundaries around these people that we were just talking about, these energy vampires and things like that. If you're not really well grounded, it's very difficult to protect yourself energetically. So that's very, very important for people to know.
I've learned that a lot. And that's, you mentioning Reiki, like when I say I'm an energy I do energy healing, people are like, well, you do Reiki. And I'm like, I don't know nothing about, and then when I explain it, they're like, well, that's what it sounds like. And I'm like, this is just innate that I've just explored. So, but I'm not going to call myself that, because I haven't done this training yet, if you want to call it that. But I'm like, it's energy healing, because I just really understand the nervous system, and I can read the energy in people and help them come back into their body so that they can release. I want to bring you into a reflective question.
Mhm.
I want to ask you to bring your awareness now and to go back to your 18-year-old self. And you have 3 words to tell your 18-year-old self to carry you to the journey now. What would those 3 words be?
Relax, trust yourself, and keep going.
Nice. Could you give a reason why?
Well, I was way too concerned about everything. So like relax, trust yourself, because especially being a sensitive and not being the same as everybody else, you got a lot of input from other people thinking that you were weird, and you start thinking yourself are weird. Okay. Or there's something wrong with you. And I also grew up in a family where, never good enough was a big theme in my family. Okay. So trusting myself was difficult when I was younger. So that was a big theme. And keep going is something that I've learned post that. No matter what happens in life, and teenagers, their brains aren't wired for this. Okay. This is why teenagers are so vulnerable. They can't even conceive that tomorrow's another day. Okay. Everything's now. And if it's not right now, it's never going to be. This is why suicide is so prevalent in teenagers, because they can't even conceive the fact that tomorrow's another day and things could actually get better. Okay. So it's the keep going part. Okay. Just keep it. It doesn't matter if you put one, you're taking tiny little baby step, but if you keep moving, I guarantee you eventually things are going to get better. It's when we allow ourselves to be the deer in the headlight and we allow ourselves to be overwhelmed that we get stuck. Okay. If we just keep going, even if it's just nothing else, but I saw this wonderful video, and it was about this. He was a general or an admiral or something in the US Navy. And he did this whole commencement speech on making your bed. And it sounds in the morning, it sounds ridiculous, but it's actually true. And I found that information when I was going through a very, very difficult time, and I had trouble even getting out of bed, let alone making the bed. And just that act of getting up and making your bed, even if you don't do anything else, I know it sounds crazy, but it's very, very empowering, because at least you've accomplished one thing or 2 things. You got up and you made your bed. Okay. Yeah. Even if nothing else happens, because let's face it, there's some really difficult stuff that, we have to go through in life. And sometimes it's just really hard just to get yourself out of bed and, make that bed. I tell you, I really resisted it when I was a kid, because my mom was fanatical about bed making. So anything your parents are fanatical, you resist. Okay. So I really got into that, and I happened to find that out. I happened to hear that video when I was going through a really rough time, and it sounds crazy and silly, but it actually works.
Yeah.
So make that bed every morning.
Part of self-care.
Yep.
And really seeing that you're worth, taking care of yourself and your surroundings too, because it really does something for the mind and the brain of having some organization and investing in yourself. Now, I know there's some listeners that are like, okay, enough talking. Where do I find Laura? So could you let the listeners know where they can find you?
Okay, well, the easiest thing, you can find me on my website, which is www.spiritspeaks2.me. I'm all over Facebook, just under, I have a Facebook group called Spirit Speaks to Me. I have my homepage, which is just Laura Hoorwig. I'm on Instagram, which I'm Hoorwig Laura on Instagram. Okay. And I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on you can find me pretty much on a lot of the social media. The easiest way, if you're looking to get more information about working with me, look at my website. My email is on there. The best way to really get in touch with me, honestly, is just email me. My email is very simple. It's just laurahoorwig@gmail.com.
Okay. And for the listeners, you don't have to write any of that because it'll be in the show notes and it will be all clickable. because we understand now with technology, it can be very difficult for people to write things and stuff. So we want just clickable. And, you know, I really want to be able to connect you with Laura, because if what she said really stirred something up in you, take that time to just message her and find out what that nudge was. And you may be very pleasantly surprised of the connection that you get, because nothing is a coincidence. And when we get those nudges, it's like to act on them. So
I love that, because everything I say, there's no accidents, no coincidences, everything is synchronicity. And you want to act on it, because that is, well, it's one of two things. It's either a message from your own inner knowing, or it's a message from your guides and angels to direct you into the right space, whatever that may be. And I never worry about that, because the people who are meant to come to you will always come.
they will. Is there anything that you'd like to leave the listeners?
I think the most important, I just got a hit. They just hit me. The most important thing right now with all this energy pumping, and I'm going to tell you, it's not going to go away. Okay. This is going to keep on happening, and it's going to keep increasing in intensity till at least what I've been shown 2030. My guides right now won't go past 2030, which I find very interesting. So self-care is the most important thing. And I don't care who you are, what you do, it's taking care of yourself. And it's everything is even the simple stuff. Eat well, get some movement, get some exercise, make sure you're getting your sleep, drink lots of water. Okay. This is a big thing when the energy is really pumping, because water is your energy system. And if you're dehydrated, you're going to be in a very bad way with all this energy floating around. So very much hydrate, meditate, some kind of movement, exercise in the body. Like I said, yoga, Tai Chi, Qigong, martial arts, even if it's only going out for a walk, be in the forest, be in nature. And that will help keep you grounded. Water is also really good to help you to ground. So be in the water, on or around the water is a great place to be.
Well, this has been a delight. I am so thankful you came on the podcast, and we can play around and, speak a language that we both understand. It's always nice to be able to speak in a way that you don't really have to explain too much. And people get it. So thank you so much, Laura, for the light that you're bringing into the world, and for the guidance that you're offering to people that are lost, and then you allow them to have that validation of, returning back into home, into their body, and discovering, connecting back into their authentic self, into their self. So thank you for what you offer into the world.
No, thank you. And I just got prompted to because there's a lot of people who aren't really up to speed on this work yet. And I always think the best way to really find out how this works is to listen to other people's experiences. So if you're not sure how this all works and everything, I suggest you go to my website, and I have like hundreds, literally, of testimonials on there, and you'll be able to see what other people are saying and how it affects them. And I think a lot of times that's the easiest way to really start to understand what the experience is to listen to people who've already had it.
Thanks for that. Please remember to be kind to yourself.
Absolutely. Gentle and kind.
Yes.
Hey, you made it all the way here. I appreciate you and your time. If you found value in this conversation, please share it out. If there was somebody that popped into your mind, take action and share it out with them. It possibly may not be them that will benefit. It's that they know somebody that will benefit from listening to this conversation. So please take action and share out the podcast. You can find us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok under Lift Oneself. And if you want to inquire about the work that I do and the services that I provide to people, come over on my website, come into a discovery call, liftoneself.com. Until next time, please remember to be kind and gentle with yourself. You matter.